Before we get into today's video, if you're someone who's interested in retro-modded consoles like Game Boy SPs, Game Boy Colors, or Game Boy Advances, we have them all at privateclubcollective.com. We even have over 30 t-shirts like this one here, where you can get one for yourself or for a loved one at privateclubcollective.com. Now let's head into the video. The CIA has been at the forefront of espionage for decades, and over the years, they've created some of the wildest, most mind-blowing spy gadgets and experiments you've never heard of. We're talking about mind control, animal species, heart attack guns, and even a robotic dragonfly. Buckle up, because this is the craziest tech the CIA has ever developed in the real-world scenarios they were meant for. Let's start with something weird but genius: scrotum concealment. Now, if a pilot was shot down behind enemy lines, they needed a place to hide, a small escape tool like a razor blade or a map. The CIA's solution? Well, a small pouch surgically implanted in the scrotum. Yeah, it was discreet, effective, and let's be honest, kind of uncomfortable to think about. But in life or death situations, this bizarre gadget could mean the difference between capture and escape. The idea was to allow captured pilots to still have access to tools that could aid in escape from enemy interrogation and captivity. Now let's talk about something straight out of a spy thriller, the heart attack gun. In the 1970s, during the Church Committee hearings, it was revealed that the CIA had developed a dart gun that could cause a heart attack without leaving a trace. The gun fired a frozen toxin-filled dart, which would dissolve inside the body, making the death look completely natural. This was intended for covert assassinations, eliminating high-profile targets without raising suspicion. MKUltra is probably the most infamous CIA project. It ran from the 1950s to the 1970s and involved experiments with LSD, hypnosis, and psychological torture, all in effort to create a real-life Manchurian candidate, which in other words just means it was someone who was brainwashed to becoming an unwitting assassin. They even tested these methods on unsuspecting civilians, prisoners, and even their own agents. The intended goal was to develop methods for controlling and influencing human behavior, which could be useful in interrogation, espionage, and counterintelligence. Now this next one sounds too ridiculous to be true, but it definitely did happen. In the 1960s, the CIA surgically implanted a microphone, transmitter, and antenna into a cat, creating a feline spy known as Acoustic Kitty. The goal? Well, it was meant to eavesdrop on Soviet conversations. The first test, a disaster. The cat got ran over by a taxi almost immediately. After spending millions on the project, the CIA scrapped it. The intended application was surveillance, using an unassuming animal to get close to high-value targets and gather intelligence. Okay, imagine James Bond breaking into a safe. The CIA had their own tool for that, the belly buster. It was a high-powered drill that could be concealed in a briefcase and used to covertly break into locks, safes, and even walls without drawing attention. It was silent, efficient, and a game changer for covert operatives who needed access to secure locations without leaving evidence of forced entry. Looking for another mind-blowing piece of tech? Well, here's the pipe receiver. It looked like an ordinary tobacco pipe, but it used bone conduction to transmit radio messages directly into the operative's jawbone. The sound would travel through the bones and be heard only by the person using it. No earpieces, no wires, just pure spy magic. This was designed for covert communications, allowing agents to receive important intelligence without making it obvious they were listening to a message. And for some people who maybe lived in the early 2000s, maybe 2005 too, I don't know, that's mid 2000s. But do you guys remember that toothbrush that would play music as you brushed your teeth, but it would never like play music audibly? It would just play it like as you brushed your teeth. It was like for little kids, but it was a toothbrush that essentially used bone conduction to play some of your favorite tracks. I had only one, and it would play that song, that boom boom clap, boom boom clap, boom boom clap. I don't know how the song goes, but it would play that song and I would like click it on and I would not hear the song until I started brushing my teeth. But that was the same technology that they used in the pipe receiver for this toothbrush. And it's really crazy to think that decades later, this technology was available to civilian use in a funny, more innocent way, just to brush your teeth. Now for this next one, way before modern day drones, the CIA developed the Insectohopper, a tiny robotic dragonfly designed for surveillance. It was powered by a small gas engine and could fly like a real insect. What was the problem? Well, it was too hard to control in the wind, and the project never became operational. However, the idea was to create an undetectable airborne surveillance tool that could observe enemy operations without being noticed. In the Cold War, the CIA needed a way to detect enemy movement in remote locations. Enter the intruder detection device. It looked like a regular rock or a piece of soil, but inside, it housed sensors that could detect enemy movement within 1,000 feet and transmit radio signals to nearby operatives. It blended in so well that enemies rarely spotted it. This was designed for border security, monitoring enemy infiltration routes, and protecting strategic locations. Now, if you thought the robotic insects were crazy, get this. The CIA built a robotic fish named Charlie. It was designed to spy on underwater targets, gathering intelligence with built-in sensors. With its lifelike movements, it was almost indistinguishable from a real fish. This was meant for underwater espionage, allowing operatives to monitor naval activity and underwater bases without suspicion. Now, one lesser known but fascinating CIA-backed project was Project Iceworm. The US attempted to build a secret nuclear missile base under Greenland's ice sheet in the 1960s. The idea was to store missiles that could strike the Soviet Union from an undetectable location. However, shifting ice made the tunnels unstable, and the project was eventually abandoned. The application? Well, covert nuclear deterrence and strategic military advantage during the Cold War. Okay, to wrap this up, from the mind control to the robotic fish and even the bone conduction, I think it's really just amazing to see how far innovation can go and how some of these technologies are even used in civilian uses as well, like obviously radio signals, and how I mentioned earlier with the bone conduction with the 2005 toothbrush brand that played music from a toothbrush using bone conduction. I think it's just really fascinating, and I can only imagine what other files or other projects weren't released that used amazing technology or even simple technology in ways that we would not expect. If you like content like this, be sure to like and subscribe and comment what other videos you would like to see in the future. Until next time, thank you for watching.